Do not adjust your digital device. What you are about to see and hear may shock and appall you. Join our hosts as they encounter countless thrills, spills, chills, and hilarity as they explore the very weirdest in pop culture. The following media is so strange, so beyond the scope of what is normal, it will make you ask the question, why does this exist? Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Why Does This Exist? I'm Chris.
And I'm Rob.
And today we have a show that I don't like. I'll just put it flat out. I don't like this. It's quite silly, and I know what it's Adult Swim, so nothing surprises me about what it is. But I don't like this. We're talking about Tim and Eric. Awesome show. Great job. It's a wacky show. I watched this I've watched a few episodes sporadically, and I think each time I've had the same reaction. I've had a couple of chuckles, but by the end of it, I'm like, this is just so stupid. I watched like maybe 3 from different seasons before this show, and I was just like, I can't. And the last couple of episodes actually are like really longer. So like there's a couple of episodes towards the end of the show where I think one is like a half hour and the other one is like 45. The last episode I think is 45 minutes. Yeah. And there's also spin-offs in a movie and stuff, and we'll get into that. But yeah, if you don't know what we are Why Does This Exist? We're a podcast that explores the very weirdest in pop culture, whether it's a show like we're about to do, a movie that like we just did, just music that we will get into next week, and we have just a bunch of other things that we just explore. If it's weird, if it happened, if it's going to happen, we're going to talk about it. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also look for our things on YouTube. If you want to give us money, head on over to Patreon, patreon.com/whydoesthisexist. You can catch us on the socials and all that jazz. And that's about it. We've updated our Patreon item at this point. If you give whatever you give, as little as $1, we will let you into the Discord server. That's nothing new. We've now figured out how to get it to actually work, so now you patrons will be automatically invited into the Discord server. But the thing that we've updated, we had said that we would give people kind and nice shout-outs on the show. We are no longer doing that. If you're giving us any money whatsoever, we're going to roast you like Gilbert Gottfried on this show. We'll say awful, terrible things about you and your family and possibly others. They may or may not be true. We don't know you at all. We have no idea what you've done, but we do know what you've done in 1990. So there's some terrible things that we will say, and we can't wait to destroy you. So if you're feeling froggy, pal, patreon.com/whydoesthisexist. Give us $1 and see what happens. A triple dog dare ya. All right, that's the news. Here's the weather. You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge from a ragtag group of rogues. So let's get on with the goddamn show. Explain to the people, Mr. Rob, if you will, what the hell is this thing that I watched?
Well, Tim and Eric Awesome Show, great job, is a sketch comedy show by comedians Tim Heidecker and Eric Wareheim. And basically it was designed as a, like I said, it's a sketch comedy show. So like very similar to, Saturday Night Live or In Living Color, stuff like that. But it is specifically made to be very, very absurdist in the humor, and also a parody of like really bad 80s public access TV and like really bad 80s like infomercials and stuff like that. the show actually came about, which I didn't know. I thought Tom Goes to the Mayor actually came out after this, but Tom Goes to the Mayor was actually Tim and Eric's first show on Adult Swim. And then they were greenlit to do Tim and Eric Awesome Show. Great job. And it actually had a number of stars, like a lot of like actually very famous actors guest starred on Tim and Eric Awesome Show, which is hilarious because of like how like low budget it seems. Yet, they had people like Zach Galifianakis, Alan Thicke, Will Ferrell, like
John C. Reilly was a regular character.
John C. Reilly was actually a regular character on the show, just wasn't just a guest appearance. And I'm pretty sure they actually did a spin-off of Dr. Stephen Brule, like his own show.
Oh, did they?
I think so.
That's one of the few things that I actually liked about this show. I don't like it as a whole, but there are some bright spots that did make me laugh. Yeah, but overall, I was just like, this is just too weird and too stupid for me. And I like stupid, but I was just like, this is just too much.
See, it wasn't my favorite show on Adult Swim growing up, but I did watch it and I liked it and I thought it was funny a lot of the times. And but I'm into like a lot of that like really like absurdist, like stupid humor, like that doesn't make any sense like to normal people, like just like it's like so bizarre and out there and just and very strange. Like I like that kind of humor, so it like kind of it just works for me.
I will say it's okay. I guess it's okay in short bursts, but like I watched 3 different episodes from 3 different seasons. There's 5 in total. I watched something from the second season. No, I'm sorry. I watched something from I think I watched the second episode ever, and then I watched something from season 3, and then I watched something from season 5 just to see like what the progression of the show was and whether or not it got funnier or worse over time. I think it got worse over time, but also I laughed a lot more watching the first episode, and then as I watched it longer, I really just did not want to watch this anymore, and I really hated it towards the end. And I think it's really just really more on that where like because the show is normally 10 minutes and you need to like I don't think you could watch like 3 to like 5 episodes of this thing in a row. I think if you watch like a full season in one go, I think you would get sick of this and you'd hate it. But if you watched like just one episode here and there, I think it would be funny because it's just so bizarre. I think it's one of those things where like once the novelty wears off, then then you really just don't like it. But that's just my experience.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure if I go back to this in like a week or a month or something and I just watch one at random, I might actually crack up and then just not watch another one for a while and I might laugh then. Yeah. But if I just watch a few of them in a row, I think the same effect will happen.
I think the problem is that some sketches are just better than others. Like for example, like I always liked the Cinco products. Like I thought those were always like the funniest sketches. Like so for those who don't know, like
those cracked me up.
Part of like or one of like the regular sketches on Tim and Eric Awesome Show is there's a company called Cinco which makes really stupid like useless products and has like these like ridiculous infomercials to like promote them. Like for example, one is like the Cinco phone, which has only one button and the battery only lasts enough to make one call. And like it like gets so hot that it'll actually cause 2nd-degree burns on your face. So it comes with a tube of gel to put on to soothe your burns. It's just the stupidest thing and the most useless products, but it's just hilarious the way it kind of parodies like those 80s infomercials and those early 90s infomercials that were just so stupid. And it was always for like a really dumb product that you really don't need, similar to this. It just kind of takes it over the top. It jumps the shark on the absurdity of the product. But like there are like other sketches which are more boring, like or like just like kind of like don't hit as hard as that. I think Wikipedia actually they kind of describe it, I think, in a good way in saying that a lot of the comedy is almost like anti-humor. Like, you know, it's
I think that's about right.
yeah, it's like it's purposely trying to be unfunny, but like inadvertently is funny by that. It's a very hard thing to explain, and it's almost like dad jokes, which are always like, you know, dad jokes are always like so stupid and like obvious, but like you can't help but laugh at them, kind of thing, you know.
And at some points, it just gets so bizarre that
Yeah.
it becomes humorous. Like someone will be in the middle of saying something, and then it'll just like it'll you'll just start hearing like a skipping noise, and it'll just repeat what they're doing like on and off, and it'll just like do it in like a loop.
Yeah.
So it won't make any sense whatsoever, and like sometimes it's just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
But I will say Cinco does. I did see one product that I thought was actually useful. It was ball punching insurance, where if you get punched in the ball, and for some reason there's a midget that like punches that like repeatedly punches someone in the balls and then spins around, and every time someone gets punched in the balls, they get paid $300 from the insurance company.
Mm-hmm.
So that I would say is useful. Not that that's happened to me a bunch of times in my life, but the few times that it has happened, I sure would have liked a check for $300.
Yeah. Yeah.
To help soothe the pain and help me purchase ice.
Yeah.
And other sorts
Yeah.
of cold devices.
I think you know, a lot of it is like you kind of have to like be in like a certain mindset, like for like me, and like when I was in like college and stuff like that, when like I watched this a lot when I was in college, like when reruns on Adult Swim, because it only actually ran until 2010. So I guess I was in college in 2010, and you know 2008 through 2010 still, and beyond that, but like, so like it was like me and a group of my friends like that I used to hang out with more, like during, actually one of them who appeared on the show, our friend Phil, who appeared on the Animal Crossing episode.
Yes, it's been a long time actually.
Yeah.
How are you, Phil?
Yeah. I hope he's doing good. I went to his birthday back a few months ago. It was pretty cool to see everybody again. So that was a fun time.
I'm sure it was. How come I wasn't invited to this?
No, I don't know.
All right. Well, that's not good.
Botch. Yeah.
Yeah. Total botch on Phil's behalf. He gets 2 demerits for this.
Or anyway, what was I saying? Oh,
drop and give me 40, you dumb son of a bitch.
So like we always used to like make stupid like sketches and stuff, and like, you know, we would like do like dubs. We would dub like big movies at the time and stuff like that. I mean, it was just always like the stupidest thing. It was just us like sitting in Phil's house like doing like that, and that was like, it was just like became our humor, kind of like this stupid like wacko off kilter like, you know, humor that we used to do.
I've seen a couple of those. They are pretty damn funny.
Yeah. So I think that was a big part of like my enjoyment of Tim and Eric. And also like it's like nostalgic for me because I always like loved Adult Swim growing up, you know, throughout like high school and college. Like I watched Adult Swim all the time. And you know, I like a lot of their shows. Like it really brings me back to that time, you know, college, which is pretty good, you know, like got to hang out with friends a lot and stuff, you know, so it's kind of like that nostalgic feeling, I think, that it kind of brings back watching Tim and Eric. I also liked Tom Goes to the Mayor. I thought that was pretty funny too. And it had some like really good moments. That was like stop motion, almost like paper cutouts though. It wasn't the live action that Tim and Eric were.
Okay, that one I never saw. Actually,
yeah, it was actually pretty funny. It was like like I said, it was a really interesting art style. Like it was like almost like paper cutouts of Tim and Eric, and like they were like posed, and it was almost like a stop motion like pose thing.
Okay, so it was like South Park like.
Kind of, but like not really, because like their mouths didn't move and stuff. It was literally just like a stationary image of them. You have to kind of like watch it to get the animation style, but it was pretty funny.
Well, I mean, apparently they had done like Tom Goes to the Mayor was like It was a short film that that Tim and Eric did when they were in college that
Yeah.
they put on their site, and like they just did all these like weird sketches that they did while they were at Temple University, and like
Yeah.
they did like a weird short film called Tom Goes to the Mayor, and they like for whatever reason the Philadelphia Institute of World Cinema put that in there, and they used it in the University of Philadelphia's Institute of Contemporary Art. So I don't know if that's what they were going for, or it just kind of happened. And like some idiot in Pennsylvania was like, "Oh, this is art." Like, "Oh yeah, I really appreciate your surrealist art style." And they probably looked at each other like, "Yeah, this is art." And stuff. And then like they put together a tape of their sketches and they just sent it to people that they just comedians that they thought were cool. And
Yeah.
Bob Odenkirk, who like has also has a like a wacky sense of humor. If you've ever seen the show, if you've ever seen the show Mr. Show with him and David Cross, that's similar, and it's got like a lot of weird things. And
Yeah.
I think that may have been I think that might have been like the dumbest weird show that I've ever seen. So maybe we'll do an episode on that at some point. A lot of people seem to love that one too. I didn't get it. I'm sorry. I tried. But yeah, Bob Odenkirk like thought that it was funny, and he was like, "Hey, yeah, I'll hook you guys up, and like we could try to actually do this Tom Goes to the Mayor thing." And they went to then they brought the pilot to Adult Swim, and then Adult Swim was like, "Yeah, well, like this totally makes no sense, so of course we'll have it."
Yeah.
And it just kind of and then they did Tom Goes to the Mayor. They did that for a couple seasons, and then the next show was Tim and Eric, which this has 5 seasons, like I said, and they just got a bunch of other stuff in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, what I noticed was like for me, I don't know if it was just the seasons that for me get worse, or if it was just because I viewed I viewed multiple episodes in one sitting and just was like tired of it after a while. But to me, it seemed like the earlier seasons were a lot funnier, and the later seasons just started to kind of like drone on.
Well, yeah, which often happens.
Yeah, which
with
that would
comedy
make
shows.
sense, and also like why they chose to end it. And then I think they truly ended it with in 2012 with Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie, which
Yes.
I don't know if that actually cost $1 billion.
No,
but
it's called that because like the whole plot of the movie is that they have to pay back $1 billion that they received from this like company to make a film that starred Johnny Depp. And it's like they completely botched the whole production and end up not even hiring Depp. It's Johnny Depp. It's like a Johnny Depp impersonator.
oh god,
And the film ends up being like 3 minutes long, so they lose $1 billion. So they have to basically like pay it back.
okay,
So that's why it's called the $1 billion movie. It's pretty funny. I've seen. I don't know if I've seen the whole thing through, but I've seen like a lot of parts of it because, like I said, like back in when I was in college and stuff, we used to watch this like Tim and Eric all the time and like joke around and stuff. So we would watch scenes from the movie and just like the best parts basically.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's pretty funny. It was a time in Adult Swim's like life where like they had like a lot of weird live action shows. Like it was just like that time period became like the live action like Adult Swim because like you had around the same time you had like the Mighty Boosh and
was Saul of the Mole Men around at that time too?
Yeah, Saul of the Mole Men was around that time. Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. Like there was just a lot of these really absurdist, like surrealist, live action shows that were, super low budget, but on like kind of on purpose. Like they were purposely making it look bad.
Right.
It was.
I didn't watch too much Adult Swim around that point in time. I think like once they started to move in that direction, I'm not gonna say I just stopped watching because I never really watched Adult Swim religiously. Like I never sat down at like midnight and just said, "Oh, I can't wait to watch Adult Swim." I
Yeah.
kind of like it's one of those things that's always been there for me when I've needed it.
Yeah, well,
But
it was like kind of those like, you would just put it on as like background noise while you were like when I was like studying or doing homework or like just like playing a video game or something on my computer, I would like put on Adult Swim just as like background noise, to have something playing. So, I would just take a look over and watch for a little bit, watch stuff and
yeah, because
actually,
the beautiful thing with Adult Swim is like you don't have to pay attention to anything that's
yeah.
going on.
Yes. And I remember when I was in college, like my first semester of college, I had a class that was like at 8 a.m. So I had to wake up or like at like 6:30 or whatever so I can get ready and get to school on time. And so I would I would wake up around 6:30, but then I would like lay in bed for a little bit before I actually got up and got dressed and got ready. And like I would turn on Cartoon Network West because the West Coast still had Adult Swim on Cartoon Network because it was like 3 in the morning there or whatever, 3:30 in the morning. So I would watch whatever's on there just while I was like laying in bed in the morning, early in the morning.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but I just remember around the time, like I every time that I turned it on, I saw something live action, and I was always like, "Huh, I wonder what happened to the animated stuff."
yeah, I
Because
mean they
like
still
around
had
that,
it on.
they still had it on, but like if I ever saw it, it was always like Family Guy or something, and I was just
Yeah.
like, why did they actually like do this? But also, this was around like Adult Swim is pretty much the thing that got Family Guy back on a
Yeah.
regular airing time
Yeah,
because
it did.
it only ran for 2 seasons, and then I think Fox canceled it, and
Yeah.
then
I actually think
Adult Swim picked it up, and then it got
yeah.
popular because it was on at around 10 o'clock, so it just happened to get like the sweet spot of a time slot,
Yeah.
and everyone was like it was like that and Futurama,
Yeah.
and everyone was like, "Oh man, like this is great," and then it started to pull in a crap ton of ratings, and everyone, and then eventually like Fox noticed, so they like got those shows back on.
Yeah.
Well, I think Futurama was still going, or no, I'm sorry, was Futurama canceled too at the time, and then they brought it back for the
Something
same
like that.
reason?
Like they did cancel it and then bring it back again, and then like they canceled it again, and then Comedy Central picked it up again and was like and doing new episodes on Comedy Central.
That's right, and
Yeah.
then Comedy Central eventually ended it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Apparently it's coming back though. I think now. Did I talk to you about this or no? It might have been Tom or somebody. But yeah,
maybe we spoke about this on a podcast of like a year ago or something.
we might.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. So they apparently I mean, and we could have an episode on Futurama probably eventually because it's a pretty funny show. But
Actually, I never really got that into it, so it might be good to talk about.
I always liked it.
I never disliked it. It's just I just never got into it for whatever reason.
I got into it like because it was like right around the time that The Simpsons was starting to be not good. So I was like, well, I could either watch like reruns of The Simpsons from like the 90s or do something else. And I guess Futurama was just there because it was on Adult Swim. So, I would watch it. Because that was like I don't know. The Simpsons was still okay at that time, but it was like it started to start to go downhill in like the mid to late 2000s, I think.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I was telling somebody about this the other day that I would say the first 11 seasons of The Simpsons, every episode was a good one. Like they didn't have any mediocre episodes until around season 12.
Yeah.
And at that point, I mean, only like 1 or 2 episodes a season was just okay.
Yeah, it was like a slow death.
It was a very slow death. I want to say after around the 300th episode was where it started to not get very good.
Yeah. And now they're just
that's a long time.
They're just beating a dead horse at this point. Like it's like
I've heard that the new season is actually pretty good. But for many years I just only watched the Treehouse of Horror.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not to be confused with the Treehouse of Horrors, which is totally different and
it's the Skinnabax version.
I've heard that's where they pick the people who work at the Fellatio Cafe in Switzerland.
Oh God.
Which we spoke about last episode in Idiocracy briefly.
Yeah. Was that last episode?
Yes, it was. Well, it was 2 episodes ago, but they don't know that.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They're not going to pay attention anyway.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yes, we are morons after all.
But yeah, so Futurama,
Actually, I can't believe I didn't make this joke, but us being idiots, we were experts on the matter when we did Idiocracy.
That's true.
I don't know how that one went over my head, but like I said, I'm a moron, so
Yeah.
hey.
But yeah,
My IQ and my age are the same number.
So they're bringing back Futurama, and apparently it was like maybe not going to go through because John DiMaggio didn't want to like sign on at first.
That's what it was. There was a problem with the pay scale.
Yes, and he ended up like getting like whatever he wanted, pretty much. Like
right, because he protested because I think the other actors were getting screwed too.
Yes.
So he made sure that he got taken care of and everybody else, because otherwise he was like, well, I'm going to walk on this show and everyone else is going to come with me.
Well, they wouldn't have had a show without Bender, so.
No, they wouldn't have. And even if they tried, it would have failed so miserably.
Yeah.
What have you watched Disenchantment?
I've watched a couple episodes. I'm not like a huge fan of it. It's okay.
I've actually ended up following that one for some reason. We don't mind, I mean, I guess because me and the missus just like have just kind of had it on when it comes on, but it's not bad. I think it's decent. It's got an okay like storyline. I don't mind the story. Actually.
I think that might be just my personal preference for like science fiction over like fantasy kind of like stuff. Like I still like fantasy stuff, and I'll play like fantasy RPGs, and stuff like that. But I think like science fiction or like space opera always had like a little bit of a more of an edge than that in my mind. So that's probably I think that's just my preference for Futurama in that regard, because they are very similar, obviously, because they're both made by Matt Groening. So, and like the animation style is identical.
Sure.
A lot of the voice cast is identical. So.
Yeah, that makes sense, and they're pretty much all over the place. It's the same batch in all of his shows.
Yeah.
It's basically like an Adam Sandler movie. They were pretty much all going to just have his friends.
Yeah.
But, that's fine in my book, as long as as long as the product comes out good, which for Adam Sandler movies, it's pretty hit or miss. Over the last 15 years, maybe 20, I would say it's been a lot of miss, but there's been some hits. And I mean, the thing with Adam Sandler is when he started having kids, and like his kids started getting, a little bit older, like maybe like, well, and I don't mean like older. I mean like when they started turning like 5 or 6, he realized that, oh wait, they can't watch, like they were probably like, Daddy, can we watch your movies? And he was probably like, well, no, because they have a lot of things that I don't want that I don't want to have to explain to you about yet, or things that you're too innocent to really understand. So he probably so a light bulb probably went off and was like, oh, I should just start making movies for them that they could watch. And that's why you have so many Adam Sandler movies that have been critically panned, but he's still a tremendous draw because all families go to watch him. Yeah. Because he's pretty much a lock that any kid will want to watch a movie with him. Because the humor, yeah, it's stupid, but a kid doesn't think that. So it makes total sense as to why you and I don't like it, but like small children would.
Yeah. And
every once in a while he does make one for adults. Sometimes they're awful, like That's My Boy. That movie's a sin upon humanity.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're great, like Don't Mess with the Zohan. So it really depends.
His more recent movies, the like, I think it's called just Murder Mystery or something, on Netflix with Jennifer Aniston. Apparently, they've gotten some praise.
Okay, I didn't see that one. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, I think the second one just came out, or is like coming out this year or something.
There's 2 of those?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Well, anyway, we've gone off on quite a tangent.
Yes.
But But anyway, back to Tim and Eric. This is not Adam Sandler's show. That'll be a podcast for another day. But yeah, this is Tim and Eric. So I think it is wacky that they have all these that they have so many celebrities on this show that are just there for no reason, and I'm sure they were expensive to get too.
Yeah,
But it's like they just pop in for like 2 minutes. Like I was watching, like the last one that I was watching, it was like, I think it's called Stunts, and it's on the last season. But there's like a subplot that there's some guy who's going to jail. He owns a child clown rental company, which I don't know what that is. And like they're like children that are clowns, and you can rent them for whatever it is that you want, I guess. And like the guy's going to go to jail because he touched the clowns.
Oh God.
And then it alludes that his dad touched him, and then it cuts to and then later on in the episode it's his dad, who was played by Will Ferrell, and his dad is like, "I'm the original clown renter guy, so don't rent to anybody else. I told my son not to touch those clowns. That's the number one rule: is don't touch the clowns.
Mm-hmm.
They have to, but it's okay if they touch you." And then he's surrounded by like very small children who are just crying and miserable and dressed up as clowns. And it's just really weird. And then he's like, oh, he picks up a clown, and of course the kid starts crying, and then he's like, I'm gonna have to bury this in the backyard. And it's like, oh my God. Like, what is happening? And it's just like, why is Will Ferrell doing this? But I'm sure for those 2 minutes he got paid a nice sum. Yeah. But I don't know. It's just weird. But then again, Will Ferrell also owns Funny or Die, so like I'm sure.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Funny or Die is his company.
Huh.
So like I'm sure that you see similar humor on Funny or Die.
Yeah.
So it's not a surprise, and I wouldn't be surprised if like Tim and Eric actually have like appeared in various Funny or Die sketches.
Yeah. I think I want to say they probably have. I think isn't Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. That's Funny or Die, right?
It might be.
So because Zach Galifianakis was also on Tim and Eric a lot, so I wonder if they're just like kind of like all like the same like group of friends like that. You know, there's a lot of like comedians like Adam Sandler in the 90s always used to have like the guys from SNL in his movies, you know, Norm Macdonald was in Billy Madison and Chris Farley was in several movies with Adam Sandler. So, you know, it could be just like a situation like that where like that's how Tim and Eric got all these people because they were like, you know, it was just like their friends and like people that they knew. You know, and
that's possible.
Like
I mean, they could have been. I mean, it could have been some of the comedians that they sent the Tom Goes to the Mayor like clips to. That and like, you know, like Bob. Well, like Bob Odenkirk was the guy that like got them that like got them off the ground. And but like,
and he was also in several episodes.
Yeah, and I mean, he was an SNL writer for a little bit. Bob Odenkirk.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
He didn't last very long because his humor was just not for SNL.
A lot of people like,
and his I don't think his sketches really. I think most of his sketches didn't air.
I've heard from like several comedians, like you know, on podcasts and stuff, that like working at SNL is also kind of like it's really fucking cutthroat, and everybody there are like pieces of shit.
Yeah, it's like it's an awful job.
It's terrible. Like you literally, if you're a comedian, you only go to SNL just for like the name recognition, pretty much. Otherwise, like it doesn't do anything else for your career. Like people steal your jokes all the time. Like they like will fucking use you as a ladder to climb over you. It's bad.
Oh yeah, like you have to fight tooth and nail to like even survive on that show. Like nobody is your friend.
Yeah, nobody is your friend.
It's really bad, and I feel like it probably wasn't always. I don't know. I would like to say that it wasn't always that way, and maybe it got that way after a certain point.
I think different casts had different kind of clicks. Like because I've heard
I could definitely see that, and like and they kind of pair up to like they kind of gang up to like make sure that their sketches got in, but like nobody
almost like
else's.
the click in wrestling, like basically.
Yeah,
You know,
similar way, so that everybody who had like the most pull, their sketches would get in.
yeah, I think SNL.
It's
a lot of ways it was WWE in the 90s, like the same kind of like backstage, like very like politicky.
Oh
and,
yeah,
and people got buried all the time, and yeah,
like poor Phil Hartman when he got into like regular movies and stuff, and like when he did his first show, and he like got together with the writers, and he was waiting for all of this like horrible stuff to happen because he hadn't worked in TV other than SNL.
Right.
And at the time he was the oldest cast member. I don't know if he still is, but Phil Hartman was just waiting for like this like shitstorm, and it didn't happen, and he was like, "Wait, everybody likes each other here?"
Yeah.
Like it's a hard adjustment for anybody who came out of SNL that hasn't really done anything else.
Yeah.
Because they're just waiting to get stabbed in the back. So like they're looking over the shoulder, and everyone else is like, "What are you doing, man?"
Yeah, and I think also a big part of it too is that comedians are kind of like in a different class of celebrity. Like most comedians are pretty down to earth, and they're not into that whole like Hollywood like fake bullshit that they have to like put on like to like make it in Hollywood kind of like if
Well,
you
also
like listen
because also because like Hollywood because Hollywood in general like doesn't value the comedians, even though the comedians are like the smarter people in the room, and
oftentimes the better like they make the better movies.
Yeah, like most of the times the comedians end up being the better actors than people who studied the Meisner technique or whatever else you did.
Yeah.
Or like or did all these dramatic things. Like the comedian just kind of gets it because they're just connected to earth.
They're real.
Yeah. And also they're not like also I mean this is purely my opinion, but I don't like the method acting techniques at all. Like I think it just damages your brain.
Well, it definitely does.
Because you have to because you have to recall all of these like horrible things that happened to you.
Yeah.
To like evoke the same emotions, and you have to like you have to revive the trauma over and over and over again. You have to relive that moment over and over and over again, and then like you live as the character, and like you stay in gimmick for months at a time.
Yeah.
And then you have to like create all these memories and everything, and you have to just and you have to like pretend to be the character, and you basically become them for an indefinite amount of time, and it's just too much. Like,
some actors handle it better than others, but like it's led to like obviously the deaths of a number. Like I mean, 100%. What's his name?
Heath Ledger.
Damn.
I still think that was an accident, but it affected his life.
Yes, I
affected his life in a negative way.
Yes, I think part of it was the prep for the Joker. I think locking himself in a hotel room for months, like he did, and just isolating himself really kind of damaged his brain, which led to the increased drug use, which led to him overdosing.
Yeah, I would say it contributed. I wouldn't say it was the exact cause, but it definitely contributed.
I'm sure there was multiple causes, but that was definitely, it didn't help. So,
yeah.
Yeah, so
and like poor Daniel Day-Lewis, like that's why he like I mean I don't know for sure, but like I feel like that's a lot of the reasons why the guy's retired so much. Why he retired twice, and now I mean, he's got all the money in the world, but like, for God's sakes, man, like you're getting into the most like the older you get, the more interesting the roles that you can play.
Yeah,
and he's kind of robbed himself of a lot of these additional roles that he can play just by being as good as he is and being so dedicated to the craft in the way that he is. But it's just there's so much more that he could do that he could be doing, and and then you have Gary Oldman. I don't know if Gary Oldman is a method actor. I don't think that he is, but I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
But Gary Oldman is probably the best actor in the world, and he's, if not one of them. and he's still going, and he's he just gets better every year.
Yeah.
He's also the most underrated actor of all time, I think, Gary Oldman.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's only because Daniel Day-Lewis is so good that, and they just came up at the same time that every time Gary Oldman did something amazing, Daniel Day-Lewis just happened to be doing something equally amazing at the same time, and he kind of overshadowed him in a way.
Yeah.
But I think Gary Oldman's one of the best actors, if not the best actor that ever lived.
Yeah. He's definitely up there. I mean, he's like the roles he plays and like the versatility he has is just like he's definitely the best character actor
Oh
because
yeah,
he like there's not many movies where he's like the leading man, but he always like kind of like steals the spotlight a little bit.
yeah, and I think that's another reason why he's so underappreciated
Yeah.
is because he usually doesn't take the lead.
Yeah.
And I mean, half the time when I'm watching a Gary Oldman movie, I don't even know that it's him that I'm watching.
Hmm.
Like, I'll find out after the fact. Like, when the
Yeah.
credits roll, I'll see his name and I'll say, "Who is he?" Like, that's like, I had, like, it took me up until recently to learn that he was Mason Verger in Hannibal.
Oh yeah.
And, oh, God, that's one of the most terrifying roles that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's not even because of the disfigurement. It's just the character just being as evil as he is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and like again, that just kind of like speaks to like the versatility because he's played so many different roles. He would from like being like Sid Vicious in Sid and Nancy.
I still
Uh,
have yet to see that.
I know I've never seen it either.
I've been trying to see that movie for the longest time,
Yeah.
and it's never appeared on like any streaming service. I mean,
Mhm.
which besides like Amazon or anything that I have to pay for, but like I've tried so many times to just watch it without having to pay, and
Yeah.
I think I should just do it. I'm like at this point, it's not gonna happen for me if I don't just if I don't give in to Lord Bezos and just give him what is it, $3 or
I think it's like
something.
$3 or $4 to rent.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stop being such a cheap bastard and I'll just watch the damn thing.
Yeah. He was also
Well,
in
he's the bad guy in the Fifth Element,
The Fifth Element. Yeah, which
yeah,
like again is
which
so
that took me a while to figure out too.
it's such a great role, and again, like he's so good at doing like other accents. Like it's you would never know, like because his American accent is just like it's like so good. It like sounds like he's American.
Yeah,
Um, and I think he was the bad guy in it was it Air Force One or
I don't know. I never saw Air Force One.
yeah, it was Air Force One. So and he plays a Russian in that.
Huh.
And he does a really good Russian accent too. It's just so he's actually really good at like playing all these different roles, and he's just so versatile.
Yeah, just absolutely brilliant. And it took him way too long to win an Oscar.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
really did. But anyway, once again, returning to Tim and Eric,
yeah.
awesome show, great job. Um, do you think this show would even have a chance if it was longer than 10 minutes?
I don't think so. I think it like the 10-minute time frame or a 15-minute time frame is perfect. I think that's
Which is usually the template for any Adult Swim show, really.
yeah. Especially because it's like a lot of like the Tim and Eric, and this is true of a number of Adult Swim shows that are kind of more variety shows, like Tim and Eric and Robot Chicken, is that the 10 to 15-minute time frame is like perfect because it's like so like hot, like fast moving, like the jokes kind of like just like shoot out like one after the other, like boom boom boom, like this stream of consciousness. So it's like it works in the shorter time because I think if it's longer than that, you start to kind of like lose like your train, like you lose focus a little bit, and you're not able to like get the jokes as much, because it's such a rapid fire succession of like sketches and jokes. It just works better as a shorter show.
Right. and it's, I mean, it's just that there's so many Adult Swim shows that, I mean, they're all stupid, but
Oh yeah,
there's some of them that are just like, I mean, just for me, like it, like just like this show particularly, and you know, a handful of others. It's just like, okay, this is just too stupid. And the 11 minutes is just like, okay, this is enough. I've turned my brain off. I can go.
yeah,
Where like if this was any longer, like I'm not gonna watch the 25. I'm not gonna watch the 20-minute Crimbus episode or whatever. I'm not gonna watch the I'm not gonna watch the last episode that's 45 minutes. But like a 10-minute one every now and again, yeah, sure, I can do that.
yeah.
But it's or like well, actually the one that I like one of the more recent ones that I liked was Your Pretty Face Is Going to Hell. I thought that one was actually pretty funny.
Hmm.
And it's similar, but I guess because it follows a regular plot and like that it's like, yes, the jokes are all over the place, but I think because it follows a regular plot is why I like it. Where like this, it's just too random for me sometimes.
Yeah,
But I mean, that's but it might just be my personal taste because like like I'm not crazy about YouTube poop stuff either, but
oh
like there's some people who like obsess over it and this is like all that they watch.
yeah, yeah,
So it might just be my it might just be more my personal preference.
yeah. I think that's like Tim and Eric is one of those shows that like, you either like it or you really don't like it. There's like, there's not a lot of fence sitters when it comes to Tim and Eric. It's like you have to kind of just like like that kind of humor. Otherwise, you're really not gonna find it very enjoyable.
Yeah. But something interesting that's come out of the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, great job, that you don't really see for a lot of Adult Swim shows. You like they've put out soundtracks and like some
Hmm.
of their like music has like come out just like on regular recordings and stuff, and they've done like remixes of stuff.
Yeah,
Which the only show that I can really think of is obviously Metalocalypse, and there may be a couple of others that they've done things like that with, but you don't
I
really see
actually,
it too often.
I
And they
actually think
also toured with like doing Tim and Eric sketches too.
yes. And I actually think one of the songs from Tim and Eric was actually featured in Saints Row 3
Oh
on like
yeah,
Adult Swim radio. Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've toured doing this too. They did like they just did some stuff called Muscles for Bones,
Hmm.
and they just did like a weird telethon. But they also like just did a couple of other shows, like just a couple of other shows, and like a small tour that they did, and it was just called like they did like a cross country tour, just called Awesome Show or Awesome Tour Live 2008,
Yeah.
which may have been the only thing in 2008 that was awesome. Um, but it's just interesting. I never went to any of these. Obviously,
Yeah.
I wasn't watching it really at the time,
Hmm.
and I've only watched it a handful of times. I think tonight was the first time that I actually sat down and actually like watched it on purpose.
Yeah.
Um, I don't think I know anybody that actually went to this, but I could be wrong. If you have, let us know in the comments of our YouTube section, or just send it to us over in private if you're embarrassed at why does this exist show at gmail.com.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a wacky show. I don't think that there's really a middle ground on this show. I feel like it's a love it or hate it.
Yeah. 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 It's definitely like you have to kind of like I said before, be a fan of that kind of humor to get it and to like actually enjoy it.
Yeah, and yeah, but I mean, good job for the real Tim and the real Eric.
Yeah.
They you folks have managed to create a nice little gold mine on the show, and you know, obviously work just like a, to really just like work a bunch of your like various gigs that you've done after this. It's
Yeah.
I got to tip my hat off to you guys.
Well, I think, they were able to do their own comedy their own style, and that was really good for them.
Yeah, I mean, they even like directed some of the Old Spice commercials that Terry Crews was in.
Mm-hmm.
So they've just done a lot, like just because of this like weird idea,
Yeah.
and also just Adult Swim in general. Like for whatever reason, Adult Swim will just. Oh, I'm not going to say that they'll just take any idea, but they take some of the wackier ideas and they've managed to just really hit it big. I think we've discussed it in a lot greater detail in the Robot Chicken episode that we did a while back.
Yeah.
But yeah, just what a wacky channel.
Yeah.
And it's hit or miss depending on what you want to do with it, but Adult Swim is Adult Swim, and I hope it never ends.
Yeah.
And I think that's all I really got to say about that. Maybe at some point we'll review the Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie, but I don't know. I don't know if I want to watch this, to be honest with you. But if there's a demand, perhaps we'll check it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's about it. Anything else that you want to say, since you like this a lot more than I do?
No, I think that's about it.
Alrighty then. Well, if it pleases the court, I gotta get something off of my chest. I have to cut a promo on some sick individual. This is a sick world we're living in with some sick people. To the man that accosted me in the Bryant Park restroom, which honestly is very, very nice. I've been in catering halls that don't have restrooms as nice as the Bryant Park restroom. It has nice ambient music, a lot of marble going on there. Even the sink is nice. They actually wash the bathroom stalls. They've even got like a on-duty cop that checks it every now and then just to make sure there's no vagrants in there. And they close it after a certain time so that hobos don't go in there and use it as a cheap motel, for lack of a better term. I'm sorry. I just don't want to go to a bathroom where hobos are doing it. It's gross. But anyway, not that I've ever walked in on this, but I've heard that it happens from people who are cops, and it's not nice. It's just not. Dirty Mike and the boys, I understand you don't really have a lot of places to go, but not in the public bathroom. But then again, some people might say, if not the public bathroom, where else?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's not what I'm here to talk about. To the man who accosted me in the Bryant Park restroom on May 20th. What is going on? What's wrong with you? I'm in the middle of doing my business in the restroom. It's a number one for those who care to know. And I'm wearing a Seattle Kraken hat.
Oh.
Seattle Kraken have just been eliminated from the NHL playoffs, which big shout out to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. I'm proud of you boys. You finally did it. You did it in exactly 6 years. That frail old man of an owner that you have was right. Good job. Good job. I'll probably be getting a Stone jersey when the check clears. Anyway, this depraved individual clearly sees that I'm in the middle of doing stuff. I'm just trying to get on with my day. I had just had a nice okonomiyaki from the street vendor outside on 34th Street. They were doing some kind of a Asian outdoor food festival thing. It was nice. It was good. It was good eating.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm relieving myself, this man decides to have a conversation with me about the Seattle Kraken. I'm trying not to have the conversation with him. I'm trying to just make the small talk. I'm like, yes. Yeah, they did good. It was a good job. And he continues the conversation. He's like, yeah, I thought this guy was going to do that, and they did really great. Their coaching was good, and blah, blah, blah. And he's getting into the nitty gritty. And I'm like, yes, it was a very good time. They did it. They had a good showing. Good coaching. He continues the talk. Then he goes into the stall next to me to go do his business. I'm still in the middle of mine, and he continues the conversation. He tries to lock eyes with me, and I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. I can't, but I don't know what to do. I don't know what this man is capable of. There's clearly something not right in the moment or at any other point in time. So I can't really say, excuse me, well, can you just shut the hell up? I'm trying to... I'll talk with you outside after the fact, but right now, please let this moment be sacred. A moment of silence for me and myself doing my thing. Not happening. He continues to talk. I continue to try to just get on with my moment and just get out.
Mm-hmm.
I finish. He's not. He's still talking to me. Now I'm washing my hands. And he's still talking to me about the damn hockey team. He's still talking to me about playoffs. I'm done talking about the Kraken, but now all of a sudden, and I'm like, yeah, they did good, but, we'll see next year. Just to get the hell out of the bathroom. This sick individual continues the conversation. Who do you think's going to win? Oh, Vegas has a really tough time ahead of them. Oh, you think Carolina might take it? No, I don't think Carolina might take it. I also don't care. At this point in time, Carolina is not on my mind. It is just getting out of the bathroom and washing my hands so I can go the hell home. As he is continuing the conversation, I am trying to leave the restroom. He is locking eyes with me, and I am terrified. And he's slowly moving further and further away from the bowl of contention. I don't know what I might see. There's a police officer nearby. I'm winking at him hey, listen, if this gets really bad, this is you can do something about this, right? He continues the conversation, and at some point it got so close where I was 99% sure he was just going to end up using the poor sink as a receptacle for his business, and I was going to end up seeing something that I did not want to see at all, and I just left. Just mid-sentence, I just said, yeah. I was like, you know what? It's anybody's game, and I just left. I gave up. He won. I don't know if this was a tactic of intimidation. Maybe it was. I have no idea. Or maybe he was trying to suss me out and see if I was a real hockey fan. Maybe he didn't believe me. I have no idea. I don't know what this man's agenda was.
You don't want to know what it was.
I don't want to know what it was. There is nothing, no amount of money in the world that would make me interested in what was going on in this man's head. This is not the first time that something of that nature has happened to me, by the way. I worked at a company where everyone above me was a moron. And as we have established, I too am a moron. So if someone's dumber than me above the ladder, it's bad. One of the conversations that we had was, oh, sorry, your Christmas bonus is $100 because we lost $500,000 this year. First of all, how do you lose $500,000? Did you throw out the pillow that you were holding the money in? Was it not in the fridge like you thought it was? I don't understand. How do you lose $500,000? Oh, that's right. It's because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Well, for whatever reason, anybody in that restroom, the minute that you had to go to the bathroom, whether you were doing your business or they were doing their business, they felt the need to chat with you. Oh, this is the only time of day that I'm going to have to actually talk to this guy, so I guess I might as well tell him. No, I don't need to know about the updates that you're planning for me while we're in this sacred space. This is the time of day where I just sit to myself and I think about all of the terrible life choices that I made to get to this point.
Yeah.
But no, they would continue. Oh, you might be doing the newsletter in about another week or so because so-and-so is retiring. Yeah, that's not anything I need to know right now. You can see me when you walk in the door. You know exactly where my desk is. This can't wait 30 seconds? You can't wait till I get out of the bathroom? Or at least washing my hands? I can't just get back in the office? This can't be like a quick pep talk where you call me in? No, none of those things.
Oh,
It
apparently,
just has to be right where I'm doing my business when I'm doing it.
apparently, Lyndon Johnson would hold staff meetings in the bathroom
Why?
because I don't. Who knows?
What is this fascination? Why would you like full meetings?
Yeah, while he was like taking a shit, he would just
What?
have all of his like friggin' staff just follow him into the bathroom.
How was this man raised? It starts at home. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It starts in the house. Maybe somebody's parents just did this to somebody in the house did this to them, and they have continued the cycle of abuse. And now I've been on this receiving end of this multiple times. I don't like this. I should have therapy. I wish we had. I wish we were sponsored by BetterHelp. Or actually, maybe not, because BetterHelp is getting some bad press lately. But then again,
I haven't heard that.
Then again, apparently they don't pay their therapist very well, and they're some things happened, and I don't know if any information got out or they were data selling. I don't know what the extent of it was, but they've gotten a bad rap lately. But if you have a product that people can't stand, that can't make a dent in the market, but you have a couple of bucks that you'd like to push it through, we're shameless. We don't care about anything except your hard-earned money.
Yeah.
Sponsor the show. Send an email to whydoesthisexistshow@gmail.com. And we'll plug your product, however bad it may be.
Yep.
Just as long as there aren't any chances of fatalities or any issues connected with that. We don't want to get dragged into your legal muck, but if your product is just simply not good, yeah, we'll sponsor it. You got a disappearing, reappearing ink pen? Sure, we'll plug it. If you've got a spy network where all of the spies have terrible, terrible narcolepsy and can't get their information straight, yeah, we'll plug a service like that.
Yeah.
If you've got a satellite that can only spy on Chechnyans during the mud season, yeah, we'll plug that product, and we'll make everybody think that it's sponsored, that you can listen to Chechnyans all year round, even in the bathroom.
This sounds like all Cinco products.
It is a Cinco product. We're brought to. Why does this exist? Brought to you by Cinco.
Yeah.
And I think that concludes the show. But to the degenerate that accosted me in the bathroom on May 20th in Bryant Park, I hope you're listening, and I hope you feel terrible about all this, because you've probably traumatized countless people over the years. In fact, if you're listening to this, either go on our YouTube channel or just send a private message over through our Facebook or any of our social channels, or give us $5,000 from our Patreon and never join the Discord server at all. But if you do, or maybe just at the very least, take some chalk and write, "I'm very sorry for what I did to Chris 100 zillion times on whatever neighborhood street you live on." Make a mural out of chalk or something that just says, "I'm very sorry for what I did to Chris." And write that 100 zillion times, and maybe, just maybe, there'll be something in your stocking for Christmas. This has been Why Does This Exist? I've been Chris.
And I've been Rob.
And remember, question everything.
Great job.